Hello and welcome to the final sprint for the first quarter on this, the day of my birth. Now, what I'm going to go through in this video is the main engine class, the asset managers, and the time manager. So, really quickly, if you could direct your attention to my game file, you can see here that the game is a singleton, and it has all these accessors here, so you're not actually touching the private variables. You can see here this is the loop right here: initialize, load content, update, draw, and unload content. So if we go over here to the initialize, you can see that the set window name, set window height, this is also in the actual the user's files, so he can set the things here that he wants to do when he initializes the engine. And then also, if we go into the actual loop, you can see that there is no game code in here at all. So what we have is the initialize, which initializes the engine. We have the set window name, or no, that's not a part of the loop, I'm sorry. We have the load content, which is initialize, then load all resources, then initialize the current scene, and the visualizer initialize. We also have update, which updates the time manager frame time, and then also the scene manager, which updates the current scene. And then we have draw, which draws, it renders all of our objects. And then of course, when the game is done, there's the cleanup phase where you gotta clean up all the memory. So you have the visualizer cleanup, delete the current scene, unload all resources, and the time manager delete. So you can see here that there's no game code in here. This is all top level code. So if we go into the asset managers next, you will see that we'll start off with the model manager. You'll see that it is also a singleton. I'm using a map because a map is a balanced binary tree, otherwise known as a red-black tree, and its time is log n. So it's got a pretty quick load time for the beginning of the game. And then also you can see down here, these are the methods. They're documented: the load, the get pre-made models, and the unload. Unload is called by the unload all resources. And then if we move into here, you can see that it concatenates the actual the file path, and then it checks to see if it has any textures, and then it inserts into it. Pretty much everything is the same for here, so I'm just gonna probably skip over a lot of the under the hood type stuff. So if we move into shadow manager, or shader manager, I'm sorry, you can see the same thing. It is also a singleton. It has a base path here. It is also a map. Same thing again here. Load all default shaders. I'll come back to that. Load, get, and unload. Stuff like that. So in here, the load default shaders. These are all the sprite shaders. And how I have it set up right now is that the sprite, when you make a sprite, you never pass it a shader. It automatically handles that. So it's not really going to be something that the user needs to worry about remembering what the name of this is, because it's something that's handled underneath the hood. So again, that's how that's the only default shaders I have for right now. So if we go in here, this is also the sprite manager. Pretty much the same thing again. Singleton, map again, then load, get, and unload. And then we also have our texture manager here. Same thing: map, load, get, unload, all that fun stuff. And then here we have the resource manager. You can see here the unload all resources just calls unload on all of these guys. Add texture, add model. I'll show you what that is here in the load all resources within the user's code. It just kind of is like a wrapper. Just makes things a little bit easier. Here you can just add the sprites, add the shader, just call that method, and this is called in the beginning of that game loop. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the resource manager. Here you can see my documentation for the actual resource manager right here. The model manager, it has an example of the methods. Same thing for the shader manager. Same thing for the texture manager. And also for the sprite manager, just the different stuff like that, so that way the user can really quickly just glance at it and know what he's supposed to do. Next up is the time manager. So for the time manager, I have it's also a singleton, and it just has the get game time, update the frame time, get frame time, and delete. The delete's called at the end. That way you can clean up that singleton and not have to worry about that. So if I go ahead and boot up the game to prove to you that the game actually does does pause. I'll remove the visualizer as soon as I get to my last video here. But you can see here, if I pause it right here, you can see that it does indeed pause, and I can move forward frame by frame. I can also resume it. So yeah, just, you know, it's the alarms do work. So I know that if it moves forward like that, the alarms, you will delete it at the proper time, even though it was paused. So that's basically it for this this video. So stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.